Welcome traders, welcome traders, welcome traders. This is Lewis and we're back again with another episode of Forex Tech Magazine. We're going to be trading live here. We're looking to go into the European market, going to the open, and what we're going to be looking to do here today is going to be to try to make up some of the losses that we took last week. Before we get into that, though, I just want to go over the disclaimer with you very briefly. We are not in the business of giving you financial advice. If you're looking for financial advice or if you need a financial advice, we ask that you, or we advise that you seek the assistance of a licensed, competent advisor to help you with any of your questions as far as it regards to investment or investment related products. Okay? We do not give financial advice, even though we have the license and the capacity to do so. That's what we're not in the business to do that. Um, we are strictly a we are strictly a entertainment and educational purpose company. Our goal is to help educate and entertain you a little bit along the way, but mainly to educate you about the forex market and how to trade off of technical analysis with a little bit of fundamental analysis kind of sprinkled in there occasionally, because we believe that an informed investor is a more profitable investor and you have a better ability to be able to navigate the financial markets. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's jump right on into this and let's start kind of talking about a little bit of what happened last week, what went right, what went wrong, and what we're gonna do to move forward. Okay, so last Friday I think I was down like 800 and some dollars. By the end of the day, I was down like 3,000. I know, ridiculous, right? How did you go from 800 to 3,000? Well, we're gonna jump into that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, well, how do we come back from that, right? 'Cause that's the biggest thing, right? No matter what kind of hole you dig yourself into or how far down you go, whatever, the main thing is, do you have a plan to get back out? Do you have a plan to get back on your feet? Okay. And also, to keep in mind, what we're trading right now is a demo account, so it's not real money, but it feels like real money because it's my pride and my reputation on the line. So therefore, I treat it just the same. And what we've been doing over the last several days is just kind of coming in and trading the London Open, right? It's a pretty popular strategy amongst forex traders, and you see a lot of information about it out on the internet. So I've been looking at different variations of it, trying to trade it different ways. I think what I'm going to do right now, still continue to trade it, but I'm going to put my spin on it, and just kind of put my own little way that I'm going to trade it, and we're going to see how we go from there. Um, so let's get into this, and excuse me here, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping, kind of going through some stuff. Blah, 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 blah. We need to be over. Okay. All right. Let's see. Boom. So let's get into this. So let's look at the first currency pair here, which was the Great Britain pound US dollar, right? Whew, had high hopes for this one. So you can't see it on this screen. I left it on the other screens, but I'll try to come in here and maybe put in a little bit, which was the support and resistance lines. Support and resistance lines are very important, and the reason being is just because it helps you kind of identify in the market, um, where there was previous, buyers coming into the market, where there was previous sellers coming into the market. And so I like to use them, especially when I'm trading, because it kind of helps gives me an idea of where I can expect the market to make a U-turn at, or where I can expect the market to basically bounce off of, and like I said, make a U-turn and look for some support areas, look for some resistant areas, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna mark these right here with a blue line. All right. I'm just gonna put a couple in here. I'm not gonna go crazy with it. Just gonna put a couple in here, just kind of help me see a little bit. Maybe give a little bit of visualization. Just doing this right here on the fly. Bam, bam. All right, and that black line right there is the entry, and this right here is the red line is the stop loss. So those are all right there by some support and resistance. Okay, so yeah, great. So this right here kind of gives you a little bit of idea of what I was thinking when I was going into this trade last Friday, right? So if we look right here, this right here is the, no, that's not that. This is it. So this is the 2 o'clock candle, right? There is a 3 o'clock candle, right? So when I was looking at this, all right, last Friday, I said, wow, right? Now keep in mind the black line and the red line, which the black line is my entry order and the red line is my stop loss. Both of these are also located conveniently enough right where support and resistance are at, right? So this right here is definitely a support line, right? See, price came down, bounced off of it, went back up, came down, bounced on it, went up, bounced on it, went up, bounced on it, went up, right? And then if you look right here, this red line, you see where when it bounced back up, it went up to that red line, which is the stop loss, which is my resistance, which is the resistance. Went back up to it again, hit resistance, went up through it, came back down through it, right? Which was resistance, and then hit support again, and then went down to the next level of support. All right, so when I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this potential setup here, right? Let me get back to the chart. Okay, here we go. So it's 3 a.m., right? I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, okay, well, the 2 a.m. already hit off of this support. I mean, this, it already hit off of this stop loss, right? Hit the stop loss and came all the way back down, right, to this support here, right? Well, I'm sorry, it didn't even come to the support because I'm still at the 3 a.m. All right, so it hit the stop loss, right, or the resistance, and it's coming back down. So I'm thinking to myself, and this is what I'm thinking to myself. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, wow, price has already made a pretty good move over the last, couple of hours, all right? It's already took out this, which was a support, right? And sometimes support turns into resistance. Remember that conversation that we had, a couple of days ago, right? So I already went back through here, right? It's hit the support, which has since turned into resistance at the 130 279 level, right? It came back down, hit it, hit this one time support, now resistance again, came back down. Just only in the 2 a.m. hour was it able to get enough energy to surge up past that previous resistance to go to the next level, right? And it hit this other resistance level. And so now I'm looking at this candlestick how it's formed here, and I'm saying, okay, well, you know what? That's a lot of energy that's been expended. And you look at the currency pair, it looks like it's starting to tilt towards the side. Okay, it's potential right now for this to start a downward move. Plus, too, we had some information coming out about the non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate for the U.S. In the 8 o'clock hour. So, think to myself, definitely good potential for this thing to start making this negative move. This could be a potential high for the day here for this pair. So I went in with a short position, and unbeknownst to me, right, it looked like it was going good, especially here at the 4 o'clock hour, where it went in and got into the entry for my 4 o'clock, for my short position. But unbeknownst to me, this thing quickly turned around and proceeded to go north. Right, going through my stop loss, right, going through this next resistance level here, right, and proceeding to go all the way up to this next resistance level, and now we're in the process of coming back down again, right? So, needless to say, took a L on that one, right? Um, what could we have done better? You know, why did this happen? Why did this occur? What could we have done better? What could we have done to make this a profitable trade? Well, I can tell you right off, one of the things that I should have been more aware of is just looking at overall market direction, right? I should have been a little bit more mindful of that. I was more focused on in the sense that this thing has just made a huge move over time, right? I mean, it's exhausting, and it should be looking to pull back at some point. In fact, I even had an RSI open and showing that it was over and it was overextended. So that kind of added a little bit more fuel to the fire, thinking that hey, this thing should be able to pull back. Now, was my thinking flawed? No, not at all, because it's actually now doing what I anticipated it was going to do on Friday. So I was a day early. But here's the thing about the market, right? If you're early, you're wrong. Early is just as bad as being wrong, right? I could have just been totally off and still been, still have the same results because that's, when you trade in the Forex, not only do you have to be right about the direction, you need to be right about the time that you're going to place that trade because if you get into early, you could be in for a huge pullback, which will cause you to have a margin call, right, or trigger your stop loss. And in this case right here, it didn't give me. I didn't get a margin call, but I did get my stop loss trigger, and so that placed me out of the trade. Okay. So that was the first one. Let's look at the second one, which was Great Britain pound, Aussie dollar. Same thing here. Came in thinking that hey, you know what, this thing has went so far so fast that it's due for a pullback, right? And I thought the pullback was gonna come on Friday. Unfortunately, the pullback's coming today. So once again, got in early, right? Had the right, the right analysis in place, right mindset. Just the wrong time, wrong date that it was gonna happen. I was a day early, so sometimes it happens. But that's the reason why we have our stop losses. And unfortunately here, let's see, with this particular one, so this is 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., had that surge up, it was going sideways for a minute, surge up. Once again, looking at this candlestick formation here, knowing that we're kind of close to another high, I say, you know what, we need to get in. This one right here, because it was dropping so fast, I want to put in a market order on this one. I know I said market orders for losing. You don't use market order. Broke my own rule, paid dearly for it. That's the only time I ever get into a market order is when price is just moving so rapidly in the direction that I had called it to move towards. And then I put one in, but I still use a stop loss nonetheless. And I did here, and in this occasion, and what happened is that price went down, moved down, right? Anticipate it was going to come back to this previous level of support right here, right? And price made a U-turn. Continue to rally up, hit my stop loss, took me out of the market. It happens. It happens. And once again, with this one here, same thing with the other one. Really should have just went in and with the mindset to say that, hey, you know what? Even though price is making a big move over time, right? Price may still continue. Price may still continue to move in the opposite direction, in that current direction. It's hard, and I guess what I'm really trying to say is it's hard to trade pullbacks, right? Because you just don't never know how far it's going to pull back, or when it's going to, start back, in the previous direction again. When I was looking at these particular currency pairs, I was looking at it from the standpoint that the currency's move has definitely been exhausted. It's been traveling up for several days. It has to be a pullback coming. It's going through the different levels of resistance. It should be coming soon, just based off of looking at the information and looking at how the candlesticks are, forming, looking at the patterns that's coming on the charts. But once again, I got into early, and being early is just as bad as being wrong. and I paid for it, right? With pips. There is a cost to everything, and I paid the cost. So let's look at the next one, which is the Great Britain Pound CAD. Okay, so here's another one. This is the Great Britain Pound CAD. And remember, it was that Wednesday I had spoke about the gap that was here, right? That window where it had gap down the previous week, right? From I think that Thursday or Friday, and it gapped down, and then it was trending, it was trading, down towards the bottom. And I told you, I said, you know what? This gap, this window, has got to be closed at some point, right? It might not be closed right away, but it's going to be closed at some point. And then we also point out the fact that there was some economic information was coming out of Canada on Friday, and also information was coming out of the U.S. on Friday as well. And so that might be an opportune time for this window to either close or for this thing to go even farther down. I didn't get into it that Thursday. Once again, probably should because it surged up, right, and closed the window, right. Then proceeded to trend sideways for a little bit, and then once again that Friday morning it popped up at 2 a.m. Looking at it here, at the 3 a.m. candle, which is the one we trade off of, it looks like it was a little bit of indecision there, right? And I was anticipating that, it would probably pull farther down just because of the information that was coming out of the U.S. and coming out of Canada. Based on my analysis, like there's going to be some potentially positive information for those currency pairs. So I figured they would pull back down. Since the gap has already been closed, since the window has already been closed, it'll pull back down and continue, is downward trajectory. Once again, wrong on that one. Instead, what it proceeded to do was to go back up here, and this black line here are my previous support and resistance lines. Proceeded to go through those, then trend sideways, and now we're kind of at where we're at right now, which is now looking like, okay, I need a break. I want a breather. So it's pulling back. So once again, this one right here is another one of those ones where, had the right idea, the right thought, and then also these lines right here, the red lines is the stop loss, the yellow or the gold line is the entry, and the green line was the take profit. Sorry, I forgot to mention on the other ones as well. The reason why I put these color lines right here is just because my support and resistance lines I just left them black. Just so we get a little bit of a visualization on the chart as far as what I was thinking about and what the mindset was when I was going through trying to place these trades. Because when I placed the trades, of course, wasn't online at that time. I was offline, and you of course had no idea what was happening. That was something that I was kind of working through and just looking at on my own. So anyway, early. Once again, on all these currency pairs, just early on all these, early is just as bad as being wrong because early was wrong, right? Thought it was going to start the downward move last Friday, and that's why I took those positions. If you look right here, like I said, based off this candlestick here, a little indecision, right? Had surged up for a little bit, right? But it wasn't doing any type of wasn't making any type of effort to make a continuation. And it came down, price did come down, and it did wind up taking me in. My price target was back here to the previous level of support, but once price hit my entry, it immediately began to take back off again and go back up, like I said, to where we're at right now. Whereas right now it looks like that we're getting a little bit of a relief where price is pulling back somewhat now. And the question, today is going to be, well, what is price going to do? Is it going to continue to pull back? Or, is this a U-turn in price? Or, will this price, begin to take off? We'll make another high today. And we'll get into all those questions and hopefully try to answer that here shortly. Got one more currency pair we want to look at though before we get into that, and that is the New Zealand or the Great Britain pound versus the New Zealand dollar, right? And I gotta tell you, folks, I'm looking at this stuff and I just feel sick because I'm just like, man, hindsight is 2020, and you know, at I look at this right here and I said, man, if I just would have waited, another day before I got into that trade, and that just goes back to something that I was saying earlier about how some of the best trades that you make are the ones that you don't take, you know, um, because you can be wrong about a move and you can be just wrong about the time frame as far as when that move is going to occur. And unfortunately, we were right about the move, we were right about what was going to happen, based off of how far and how fast it's traveled, but we're just wrong about what day that move was going to occur. Had I waited one more day and came in now, it'd be a different story. Um, but fortunately, I did not, and I have to take my lumps like a man and just keep going. So anyway, once again, the black lines here, they represent support and resistance lines in this market, and not just necessarily on this page or at this particular setting. This is just support and resistance lines over a long period of time. And if you look back, like if you look right here, this bottom line right here, this is definitely a support line. You see the price came down, touched it, came back up, touched it, came back up, touched it, came back up, went through a little bit, came back up, touched it, came back up, touched it, came back up, right? This next line right here is a little bit of a resistance line. You can see where price came through, touched it, went down, 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 right? And once again, these things are important. Why? Because they let us know where there's potential U-turns at in the market. So it gives us a better idea and a more higher probability of being right when we place our entries, our stops, or our take profits in the market. Okay, just a little bit more confidence with this, because at the end of the day, if we didn't go through and we didn't mark these out, right, we just be looking at something like this, right? And we look at something like this right here, I mean, where would you put your stop loss at? You put it anywhere, right? Or where would you put your, where would you put your take profit at? You put it anywhere, right? You don't know. It could be anywhere. So when we look at it again like this, it gives us a better idea, because we can say, well, hey, this right here was a previous area of support. This right here was a previous area of resistance. Then you know what? It may be in our best interest that, hey, if price can break through this area here, right? Then this next area of support here is probably where it's going to U-turn at, right? Maybe where it's going to U-turn at. Same thing if we look at with a stop loss. We say, hey, this area was a previous resistance, right? If price gets close to it, it's probably going to turn back around. But in our particular case here, price went down. It actually triggered our entry, and then it proceeded to go back up again, right? And you look at each one of these, the funny thing is, it's not even funny, but the now it's not funny, but the funny thing is, if you look at each one of these entries where I got in at, these are actually classic flag patterns, right? I don't know if you see it. Kind of flags or triangles. Right? And I'm not gonna get much into it now. That'd be something for another episode or whatever. But very important that when you start to trade, you start to recognize these things, right? And the reason being, it just makes your trading life a whole lot easier. And the more you recognize, that's it. There's pole, that's flag, boom, there goes the bounce, and boom, right? So once again, and that happened, that actual pattern right there happened pretty much on all of these, right? And once again, it's just a matter of being aware. Same thing here. boom, boom, boom. It's just a matter of being aware. That's on the Great Britain pound, US dollar. Same thing here. Boom, boom, boom. It's just a matter of being aware, and I should have been more aware. Right? I got nobody to blame for my losses. Nobody to blame for it, except for me. Boom, boom, boom. All right. That same pattern over and over again. Repeat itself. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So now that we know that, now that we got that out of the way, the question is, well, what do we do about it? Right? How do you come back from it? Right? How do you get back to profitability? How do you go back and recoup everything that you lost and turn it around and get back in the trade, get back positive on the trading day? How do you do it? Well, that's what we're going to get into next, right? And it's actually not that hard. What it's going to take is just being disciplined, all right, and looking at the charts again, analyzing it, and make sure we're not seeing what we want to see, but we're actually seeing what's actually there. I think that's another problem too. I think that when I got into it, I got a little bit excited, and I saw what I wanted to see. And I don't know if I necessarily saw everything that was there, but what we're going to do is we're going to go back through each one of these again. We're going to look at it and see if it makes sense to get back into this, or if it's something we need to just kind of stay on the sidelines with, right? And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out this all this stuff on this chart. I don't like all this. Clear screen. So I'm going to take out everything, take out the support resistance lines. I'll come back in, I'll draw some more, all right? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the daily chart and we'll see what's going on daily wise. Okay. So daily wise, boom. So low, high, high, low. There's a high, 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 low, high, high. So maybe it should be coming back to a low. And if I'm looking for a low in this market, I probably expect it to come back somewhere right up in here, right? It's about 300 pips, right? Because remember, this right here is previous support, previous resistance, so I'd be looking for the price. If it's really going to come back, and once again, not making a U-turn come back, but just coming back because, hey, it's been going up for a while. Maybe it needs to be a little bit of a break. I would expect for it to come back, not necessarily all the way, but no lower than somewhere around this area, right? Potentially. So let's go in here. Let's look. So with this one right here, I gotta tell you, when we look at it, I really get the feeling that I want to short it again. But we'll see. And the reason why I say that is because I think there's some more room in this market. From here to here, it's about 108 pips. So it traveled 110. And I'll tell you the reason why when I look at this right here and say, okay, maybe potentially shorten it is, and you have to be careful with this. And because if you look at overall, this is in an uptrend, right? Overall, it's an upward trend. When we come in here, we're looking at this 3 o'clock candlestick. right? And this could very well be, you know, a low, and this thing could pivot and then proceed upward again, right? So, yeah, when you walk into these things, you never really know what, you know, is going to happen. For me, though, when I look at this right here, I'm thinking I'm going to, I think we got some downward momentum. And once again, I just think it's just because over the past several days, um, how the market pushed down, pushed up. And when I look at it, I equate it like this right here. If you're running, let's say you took a deep breath, or let's say you went and let's just say you're sitting at the table and you got your pen in front of you or a pencil in front of you, and you want to blow it across the table. And so what do? You're gonna take a really deep breath, right? And you're gonna blow it all out, right? And once you blow it all out, what happens? Well, you gotta take another deep breath. You gotta inhale to fill your lungs again, right? And so when you look at the market, and the market's been like going up, 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 going up. Essentially, what it's doing is pushing that pin across the table. It's blowing all the breath out. And now when you start seeing this pullback, what is it doing? It's filling its lungs up again, right? So I believe this market is going. I believe that this market is going to continue to go up. I don't think that what's happening, what we're seeing right now, is a U-turn. But what I do think is, I think it's a breather. I think it's a let me catch my breath moment in the market. And the question you always got to ask yourself is, well, how long does it have to catch its breath, right? And that's really the reason why we're not going to put in a market order, but we will put in an order, an entry order, right? And we're going to do it about 5 pips below the high, or the low, rather. All right. Now I've seen some people on the I've seen some versions of this strategy where they'll come in and they'll do like a straddle, right? So they'll put 10 pips above the high for the entry, and then 5 pips below the low for a sell entry, and then it kind of let the market just kind of play it out. Me, I don't necessarily really like that strategy just because I'm afraid I'm gonna get whipsawed out. Um, I might not be able to get in time enough to cancel out the other order before it gets triggered. Because if you know anything about the trading forex, if you have an order out there and it's the same size as the one that you currently are in, and that other opposite order gets triggered, it's going to essentially just close out the order that you're in. It's going to offset it. So, once again, that probably won't be a bad deal because you lose a little bit of something, but still, if you're going to be in a trade, be in a trade. At any rate, let's so I think we're good with that. I'm not gonna do anything just yet because I don't know what's gonna happen between now and the end of the 3 o'clock candlestick hour. So we're just gonna go back up to the next one. Let's look at but we do know that we're gonna sell this one, right? Let's look at the Great Britain pound, Canadian dollar. This one right here is moving sideways and down potentially. All right. And once again, when I start looking at these short wicks right here, I gotta tell you, man, it really kind of makes you nervous because you think to yourself, well, hey, this might be a temporary pullback before this thing shoots back up again, and it could be because ultimately, this is a upward trending pair. So I don't know if I really want to short this one now. I might just go ahead and put mine. I really got to think about this one. This right is where the dilemma comes in at with trading, right? This is the part people don't really tell you about, because when you're looking at when you're just looking at regular trading videos or whatnot, and people are going back in and they're doing the look backs and stuff, it's easy to sit here and look back over something that's already happened and say, hey, you know what? If you'd have came in here, you'd have made X amount of dollars. If you'd have did this, you'd have made that and all that other good stuff, right? What's hard is coming in and looking at this stuff and just not knowing. You know, coming in, looking at this, and saying, "Hey, you know what? Where is this thing going to next?" That's where the skill comes in at. That's where the person really, really, really has to kind of show up, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And when you're trading these things, when you're trading these currency pairs, uh, what you don't know can definitely potentially get you hurt, right? So let's look back at this again. Um, Remember, the black lines are the support and resistance. Although I probably shouldn't be. This thing's coming back down to a previous support resistance line, so it could easily turn into support and push this pair back higher easily. Let me clear this stuff off. Boom, clear that off the screen. Let's see here. Boom, yeah, and this also could easily be this thing is pulling back some today, cooling off a little bit. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I tell you right now. Tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to not go with where I think it's going to go. I'm going to go with what I know that it's doing. And right now, it's pulling back. So I'm gonna pull back with it. So, Great Britain Pound, CAD, we would probably sell that one too. What's the next one? CAD, Japanese yen. Wow, look at this one. This one here was a crazy tough one to trade, and I didn't trade it last week. But if you look at all these support resistance lines in here, the one of the toughest trades you're gonna make will probably be something where it's moving sideways. It's a little bit harder because you just never know if it's gonna make a full move like it did here. It didn't touch the resistance line or support line. It came close to it, was in that zone, but then it pulled back up and moved back out, right? And the same here, in the same scenario here, it goes back up to resistance, right? This has been resistance, this has been resistance, this has been resistance, right? It goes up to resistance, and you would think that once it hits resistance, it's going to come back down to support, but once again, it doesn't hit the support because why it's starting to break out of this whole little channel here, right? It's starting to create a new channel, right? Going up, creating a higher high, higher lows. But it can be a little challenging when you're trying to judge these, right? So you got to be careful. These are just kind of like a muddled mess, but at the same time, though, you can definitely see how it could have some potential to some potential. So we may trade this one too. We may trade this one too. I'm gonna throw this on the books. Matter of fact, my notes. So far we said we will be trading the Great Britain Pound, Canadian Dollar. We said the Great Britain Pound, New Zealand Dollar. And we said Great Britain Pound. Oops. Check in. Potentially. And did we do the Australian dollar yet? Let's see. No, we didn't. All right, so same thing. So we look at this one right here, right? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. It is coming back down potentially, and then the question would be, well, what is it gonna do? Right, trade sideways for a while. It's coming back down. Now the question is gonna be, will it continue to pull back? And if it continues to pull back, then pull back to where? I think that as long as this uptrend maintains, then you shouldn't get a break below this low here, right? Although you can come all the way back down towards it or come back to up into here, right? And I think also too, I was telling you on Friday that if you guys ever heard about the Elliott wave, I mean, you start looking at these particular currency pairs, what you're gonna notice is that it looks like maybe it might be in that first wave, right? And now we're kind of coming up on that second wave, which is the pullback, right? And that's what kind of makes me leery about all this, is because if that's the case, then we need to be looking for that third potential wave, which is the bigger, more powerful one, and that's going to be the next one. Is going to surge it back up, right? So you got to really be careful about when you're trying to trade a pullback, right? Trading pullbacks is also known as a Gartley, right? And essentially what you'd be doing is you're looking for your A, B. It should be a C somewhere, comes back up a little bit, and then continues on down to a D. Um, Typically, how those things work, Um, hmm. Once again, that's something for another class or for another episode. GBP, AUD, AUD. Something I want to continue to look at. I'm going to see how this plays out. Don't know if it's necessarily something I want to get into, just because it's so close to where this resistance is at here, and that resistance can play a role and actually become support. And if that's the case, then it'll push this, push it back up. But we'll see. We'll see. Everything in good time. And also too, remember on these trades that when we start looking at this stuff, remember if it's, the candlestick body is under 50 pips, then we're only looking for a 50 pip move. As far as a profit, I'll probably even take it down lower than that and probably say maybe a 30, 35 pip move for a profit. Be honest with you, the way it's been moving lately will be good. The ideal is to get these profits over time, and if that's with a micro account, then that's $3.50. If it's with a mini account, that's $35, and if it's with a standard account, 35 pips would be $350, right? And if you can make $350 in a day, for most people, that's going to be great money. Because if you're working a 9 to 5, $350 in an 8-hour period, that's what about. It's more than what most people make over a given time frame, right? So 350 divided by 8. Yeah, it's $43.75 an hour. So I don't, most people don't make that type money, right? So if you're able to do it, take that profit and bank it and run, right? The Aussie dollar. So let's look at this next one here. One other thing to point out too, when you start looking at candlestick patterns and stuff, if the candlestick pattern, if it's just like up in here somewhere, right, not around a support or resistance zone, don't really pay too much attention to it. It's just pretty much market noise, right? It's going up, going down, whatever. But when you start getting around support resistance zones and you start seeing candlestick patterns come into play, that's when you really want to pay attention to them. That's when you really need to observe what's going on, because that's when it's, that's the money shot right there. Okay, that's when you got real buyers and real sellers coming into the market. Okay, and because of where we at right now, all right, that really kind of makes me think when I'm looking at these when I'm looking at these currency pairs to say, hey, you know what, man, I'm looking at that candlestick pattern that's forming right there. You know, do I really want to be into that trade? All right. If there is no particular candlestick pattern forming, it's just a straight push, then that's different. But if you start seeing that long wick, it might mean something. That's something, you know, it might mean that you might want to kind of, you know, use caution going in. All right, so let's look at the next one here, which is the Great Britain pound, US dollar. I think that's going to be our last one for today. Just hold on 1 second. I'm going to just check something real quick. Do some housekeeping here. Because we're streaming on several different channels, I always got to kind of come in and just make sure everything is moving like it's supposed to move. There's no hiccups. If you haven't had a chance, if you haven't had an opportunity already, please go by, check out our YouTube channel. Got a lot of great content there for you. If any of this stuff that I'm talking about right now is kind of confusing to you, if you don't understand what I'm talking about when I say, you know, support and resistance, and start talking about different, you know, these little wedge or triangle type patterns and stuff. If any of that stuff is confusing to you, you don't know what I'm talking about, go by our website. It's right there in the top left-hand corner, the ForexTechMagazine.com. Go by there. Check it out. There's a lot of good content. There's also a free course that you can download, that you can take to help you, you know, get you more familiarized with this information that we're giving out here, right? So that way, you know, you're trading informed, you're knowledgeable about what we're talking about, and you're not just tuning in because you're bored, but you're turning in because, hey, you know what, I can follow along. I know these guys talking about. I know these. I know what's going on. I understand this stuff. Okay. The other thing I was going to tell you. The other thing is, you know, check us out on the Instagram page. All right, we got a lot of good stuff there, a lot of good content on the Instagram. A lot of that stuff is just motivational and funny stuff about trading. And then, of course, you can sign up for our Twitter feed. Very informative. With the Twitter feed, you know, we do a lot of stuff with the technical analysis and get a lot of good tidbits and tips and stuff from around the net. But we also too focus on a lot of the fundamental stuff that's happening as well, because and I spoke on this before. Even though you're trading technical analysis, and we focuses on technical analysis, be mindful of what's happening on a fundamental level with your currency pairs, because all technical analysis is just a just a visual manifestation of the fundamental information that's been communicated through the market. Okay, so when we look at the non-farms payroll, and it was, you know, good number and stuff, and we start seeing this big push, you know, against the against the Great Britain pound, that's because of that information, right? When we start looking at, you know, and even if you don't want to get too technical or too in depth into the fundamental side of things, at least by you being aware and knowing when these things are going to be coming out, at least by you being mindful, that may help you make better trading decisions, right? Because once again, if you're trading and you know there's some big information that's going to be coming down the loop, and you got tight stop losses on your trades, it may cause you to get whipsawed out of the trade, right? But if you understand that, hey, you know, some big news coming out, and I want to put my stop loss a little bit, you know, further back, right? Just because they're anticipating what's going to be coming down, I want to hold on to this position a little bit longer. Then, hey, you know, you can do that, and then not, you know, just that knowledge, that insight, will keep you from getting pushed out. That way, you can continue to ride your currency pair up or down or whatever which way you're trading it at that time. Okay. So With that said, let's get back into this one here, which is the Great Britain pound versus the U.S. dollar. So where are we with this one? Once again, man, just a day early, man. A day early. Oh my goodness, a day early. And look at this right. It's coming back down, right? This was a high. Now it's forming. Now it's coming down, forming a low. The question is, how far down will this thing continue to go before it U-turns and goes back up, right? That's the question that none of us really knows. Um, I think overall, though, with this particular currency pair, and let's look at this for a second. This thing hit perfectly off of this resistance line. You see this? Boom. This right here used to be support. See here? It came down, it hit it, boom, went back up, right? It hit that resistance, which used to be support. And this currency pair here came back down. But look, this one right here, it goes up, hits that previous support, which now becomes resistance, and it goes back down, right? And now currently is below this level of resistance slash support, right? And so the question becomes, now that it hit this marker, will it U-turn and go back up, or will it continue to go down to maybe to the next level? Once again, there's no real way of knowing, right? But when we do this, when we look at it, we can say, okay, well, let me factor this in, right? And let me just kind of put it into my trade. Now, does this happen every time? Not necessarily every time, but it's something that you need to be mindful for, right? Because it can. These are little areas in the market where if it's done before in the past, there's a high probability that it would do it again, that the market would acknowledge these areas, okay? And so once again, these are things that you got to be mindful for, right? Because we could very well go through it, right? But 9 times out of 10, the market is going to be mindful of it, right? And it's going to make a U-turn, right? And so here, it's mindful of it, mindful of it, mindful of it. But this particular instance right here, it went straight through it, right? Boom, straight through it. Hit this next level, came back down, hit it again, came back down, went back to that level previously, right? Which was resistance, and now became support. Mindful of it, goes back through, goes straight through this level here that was resistance like 1, 2 times, right? And now it has another level of support and resistance. So, not saying that it always happens, but man, it's something that you always got to be aware of because it can really affect your trade, negative or positive, right? So let's get this stuff off of here. Decisions, decisions, decisions. So what do we do now? What do we do? Do we go in here, or we're gonna buy? We're gonna sell? What are we thinking? Well, I'm thinking as price is already down, price may continue to go down, right? I'm also thinking that if you look at this here, right, this is the trend line for this one. It looks like it's kind of broken. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it broke the trend line, so now instead of being in the buy zone where we want to look to buy, now it looks like it's an area where we could potentially sell. Right? And once again, if you guys don't understand about trend lines, if you don't understand about these buy and sell zones and other stuff, hey, listen, go to the website, download the information, familiarize yourself with it, and give yourself an opportunity to get into the game. It's a little different. Hit the trend line, bouncing off of it. It would be nice to see a 3 o'clock close on this trend line, close below that trend line. If it does, then that's definitely could be something there. We got about 5 minutes before the whole 3 o'clock hour is done. Let's see what the next one is. JPY. Again, we're gonna clear this out. Let's see what we got here. This one here has not broken that trend line yet. So once again, this could be something where it hits the trend line and goes back up, or it hits the trend line and goes through it. One thing I will say it has done though, if you look right here, support and resistance. All right, let's see here. Boom. All right, so you see right here, this right here is previous area of support, right? Looks like, let's see, or previous area of resistance, whatever you want to call it. Price goes through it, hits on it, bounce back up, price goes on it, right? Stays around. So this right here was once resistance, price boom, couldn't break through, finally it broke through. The same area that once stopped price from moving higher, and now all of a sudden supported price and kept it from moving lower until eventually price broke back low, right? Now fast forward, right? Price is trying to break back through this again, cannot. Try it again, cannot. Try it again, cannot. Try it again, could not. Try it again, finally got it, right? After all those tries. And now, price goes up, and now it's coming all the way back down to it now. So we're right here, and it looks like it just bounced off of it a little bit, right? You see that wick is right there on it? So now the question will be, will this price close below this line, right? And better yet, will it close below this trend line? So that's really good. If it does, then that could be a huge potential for a move down. What else we got? GBP, Great Britain Pound, New Zealand dollar. Let's look at what's forming in here. Same thing. Let's see here. Where does price begin to turn around at? Let's see. Once again, it hasn't touched it yet. And the question will be though, will price come down to here? And if it comes down to it, will it go through it? I'm thinking if anything, it may come down to this level, which is, that high right there, which I can see it coming down to that level, and then perhaps continuing back. 110 pips away. I don't think it's gonna make it today, but I think maybe over the course of the week, it may. Something to look at. Let's see here. The last one would be the CAD. Let's just see if we can. See if I get a better one. Let's see if I get a better look on this. Let's see here. Oh, folks, it looks like it's that time. It's 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. So we're going to be wrapping it up here. I'm going to go ahead and, make these trades here on the other side, or you guys go ahead and go back to sleep or go on to work or whatever that you're going to be doing for the rest of the day. Um, you know, looks like we got some potentially good trades here. Um, I say I'm going to look at this a little bit harder before I make a decision. I'm leaning towards shorting it still. But at the same time, though, I mean, because of where we're at in relation to these trend lines and these support and resistance lines, this could be some potential U-turns in the market. So I'm going to put my trades in, and we'll see what happens, and along with my stop losses. And remember, we're down like what $3,600, I think it is, together. And so the goal is by the end of the week to have this thing turn back around, be back in the positive, and continue trading. Because remember, we're going to be starting a live trade here soon, probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page as far as with these demo account trades, and that we're running positive and not running negative. Because I don't want to go into live trades with the negative momentum. Want to make sure that we're doing good. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's making money and going into the live trade, so that way we can actually start pocketing that money. All right. If you got any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Love to hear from you. Love to hear what your thoughts are about the shows. What we can do to help make it better for you. Any ways that we can assist you. If you need any assistance with your trading, please let us know. Love to be able to help you. Reach out to me. Uh, Contact us on social medias. Is usually the best way to reach out to us, so where we can help you. And as usual, I like to end the show on a positive note. So once again, I'm gonna go and do a quote by the great Les Brown, which is always shoot for the moon. That way, at least if you don't make it, you'll be amongst the stars. All right, guys, good luck to you and all your trading. I wish you much success. I will see you tomorrow. God bless you, and stay safe.